Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Marsh. Yeah. Well, thank you for coming and thank you for clapping without any cue other than the welcome to the Marsh. But I'm going to ask you to clap again, but clap for yourselves because you came out to see live theater on a Monday night. And while I and the Marsh, we are very grateful for the folks wherever the camera is watching at home or wherever they're watching us on Zoom. Theater is live theater. It's people here in the audience, the energy going back and forth between the performers and the audience, and that's what makes it so special and why so many of us missed it during when COVID was at its worst. So we are grateful that you're here. Monday Night Marsh, my favorite night of the week at the Marsh. It's sort of works in progress night, and you just get all sorts of people working on things. You get some people who this is going to be the one show that they do in their life, and then people that do all sorts of solo performances, stories, and other kinds of solo work who are trying out like part of their piece. And tonight we have Katrine DeBon. Yeah. Ananda Benna Weber and Jen Bosworth Ramirez. So I've seen these all three performers before. I think you'll enjoy them. But you're gonna have to put up with me yakking for a couple of minutes first. All right, first, a little pre-show business. If you're on Instagram, if you want to be on Instagram, so is the Marsh, Monday Night Marsh, at Monday Night Marsh. All right. But don't do that, don't get on your phone and do that now. Because I'm gonna ask you to shut your phones off or at least silence them so that they don't go off during the show. It happens accidentally sometimes and kind of a drag. So while I'm running my mouth here, maybe you can make sure that your phone will not ring. The mask, which I have off, I will put on as soon as I walk off stage. So I'm going to ask you all to keep yours on. It's a thought out policy choice of the Marsh to have people wear their masks inside. So thank you for cooperating with that. Let's see. Oh, just because this is the kind of place we are, we don't just have one emergency exit right behind me to the left. Left. Another one to the left, the door you came in, two emergency exits. All right. So, yeah, we're not cheap. We're all of this is America. You deserve your options, right? Anyway, let's not go down that road. Okay. But anyway, let's hope there's no emergency at all. Right. So one of the things that we started during the pandemic when we're just on Zoom with Monday Night Marsh is doing a Q&A with the performers at the end. And we decided to continue that when we opened back up about a year and a half ago. So we're continuing it. So we hope that some or all of you will stay for about 15 or 20 minutes after the show. The performers will sit here and on chairs or stools, and you're welcome to ask them anything about their performances, what motivate them, what parts really inspired you, anything related to their performance, you're welcome to ask. Okay, and this just in, newsflash, if any of you would like to be on the Monday Night Marsh stage, we are accepting submissions for our July through December series, and that's good till June 23rd. So you can go to the Marsh website, the Monday Night Marsh page, if you want to find out the information for submitting a piece. And finally, we do have what we call main stage shows that have been really worked through the work and development process. And let me tell you just about a couple that are happening here at the San Francisco Marsh. Comedian Adam Strauss has returned for 4 performances of his autobiographical show that maybe some people have seen about dealing with OCD, called The Mushroom Cure. And we're not talking about shiitake mushrooms there. And that's going to be happening the rest of this month. There's, I forget, there's maybe 3 performances left. Check the marsh.org website. But he has 3 performances of that. And also he has another show, I think it's a little more straight comedy, called Adam Strauss Is Not Unhappy. He's also doing that. So, and he will be gone with both of those by around the middle of June. But for those shows here, other shows here and wherever is Berkeley that way, wherever the Berkeley Marsh is, go to, again, the marsh.org website, and all the information that you need is there. All right. So are all our phones off?
Yeah.
Yay. Woo-hoo. Okay. So our first performer tonight is Katrine DeBon in Survival Kit Upgrade. From COVID anxiety to brain trauma while quarantined to the many crises that surround us, this piece asks, is the human species really most fitted for survival? Please welcome Katrine DeBon.
Is it safe to come out yet? I mean, the way I understand it at the marsh, you got your mask on and you are boosted, right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, wait. Does anybody have guns?
No.
No, good. All this equipment was provided to me by my workplace to keep me safe, along with a few vaccine shots. I work in a hospital and I am all fogged up. I'm trying to match. You know, I must say, for me, the COVID years were very unglamorous. I felt cautious. I felt constricted and compromised and good. That's just the lens. Where was that one? Oh, yeah, right. Confined. Until a window of into the world open in my bedroom with a Zoom. 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 And I was lying down flat on a chair, looking at the screen at my enhanced features. When the chair toppled and I fell backwards, slamming my head against the wall without being able to break my fall. I killed myself in the comfort of my own home. And I was okay-ish for about 2 weeks. And then was it the head trauma, the vaccine shots, the long COVID, my anxiety, all of the above. Well, then my nervous system started to attack me. It is so loud. I was unsafe within. I could not sleep for over a year. I lost 20 pounds. I endured 17 fancy medical tests. I collected 6 diagnoses in 1 year. And I could not work. And on my search for recovery, yes, I stumbled upon neuroscience. Neuroplasticity, the ability of the brain to form and organize synaptic connections, especially in response to learning or experience or following injury. You know what else I read? did you know that birds generate new neurons at mating season to create new love songs? I wish I could generate new neurons. I certainly could use a fresh batch. But the research is inconclusive on this. Yes, us humans, we can create new neural connections. Wherever you put your thoughts and intention, you create a neural pathway. Then practice makes perfect. What fire together, wire together until you can create an entire network. This is how you could learn the violin. I mean, if you wanted. Let me think about this for a moment. I learned how to speak English. I learned how to drive. But I learned to heal my brain if I put my intention to it. So, I'm scared. I'm never going to survive this. I have to surrender to them. I am on survival mode all the time. And your survival brain can kill you. Yes, let's just think about this for a moment. What did us humans invent under the influence of survival? Bows and arrows. Okay, fair enough, we need to eat. Guns, sure, it can be much more efficient. More guns. We also invented catapults, moats, castles to protect from other humans. Oh, cannons and grenades and tanks. Oh my, cannons and grenades and tanks. Why? Because where you put your thoughts and intention, you create a neural pathway. Then practice makes perfect. What fire together, wire together, until we have an entire network. And this is how we have become virtuoso killers. Is necessity the mother of invention, or is it fear? Are we pursuing happiness or safety? I certainly was seeking safety, driving into the night to a friend's house, the many long nights, the many good friends. And I learned to be terrified and grateful at the same time. I also learned you cannot make a good plan on survival brain. Is the human race making a good plan to survive? Okay, so speaking this out. survival of the fittest, the natural process by which organisms best adjusted to their environment are most successful in surviving and reproducing. Let's face it, when it comes down to survival, we are comparing Polly to cockroaches. Now, you all know cockroaches can survive a nuclear blast, right? But did you know that they can grow out new limbs? Super useful. And they've got 2 brains, and one is in the gut. You know what? Maybe my gut feeling is better at this point than my brain. But I can have a good feeling about surviving. Okay, no. Let me train my brain. Let me think positively. Let me train my brain. Let me think positively. Let me train. Let me think positively. Let me train my brain. I got it. Did you know that a team of students from the Netherlands invented a solar-powered car that can clean the carbon from the air while it drives? Super. Okay, what else? We have invented the leaf blower. So, certainly we do have the intelligence to recycle stockpiles of weapons instead of creating new wars to sell them. Even if us humans were to generate new neurons like birds, we still need to decide, what are we going to use them for? Is our brain our best feature? Let me think about that. Does the coronavirus have a brain? No brain there, and yet it outsmarted us for years. By the time we come up with a new vaccine, it mutates so many times to become more contagious and more immunoevasive. Impressive. Iteration intelligence. Iteration intelligence, the repetition of a process as a mean of obtaining successively closer approximation to the solution of a problem. The coronavirus is solution-oriented. Are we? Did we learn from fires and floods? Am I? I think so. I filled up my tank. I drove here. I made a plastic mess. There's a solution somewhere. There's a solution somewhere. There's a solution somewhere. Somewhere. There's a solution. There's a solution. T-shirt. No. Neck. I don't think so. Glen. No. Hammock. Parachute. No. Paranoid. Parasite. Parasite. That lives in or on an organism of another species, its host, and benefit by deriving nutrients at the other's expense. Are we parasites? Oh, no. The earth will survive. Good. But us, humans? No, let me train my brain. If I freak out, it's gonna kill me. Let me think. Let me train, let me think, let me breathe. Did you know that there are countless studies that shows that the brain of meditators is different than my brain? I wonder if that wisdom showed up on the MRI. But okay, no, let me not think. Let me breathe. Are we seeing the full picture? No. Parrots can see the ultraviolet markings on their feathers, totally invisible to our eyes. And dogs, they can sync up their heart to ours to help us calm down. And one of those nights when I woke up with shortness of breath and my heart pounding erratically. So I'm like, okay, should I wake up my friends to go to the ER? Well, the cat jumped and lay down across my chest until my symptoms calmed down. Thank you, cat. Thank you, friends. Attuned. To bring into accord, harmony, or sympathetic relationship, to adjust as a musical instrument. Could we learn heart intelligence and create new love songs? Well, that's intention and some practice. Practice. More practice.
Last night they loved you, opening doors and pulling some strings. Angel, come, baby. Then walk luck and you looked in time. Never
Well, personally, I wouldn't mind borrowing a cat for a few weeks to get attuned to the mice that are in my apartment lately. But anyway, Katrine DeBon, everybody. All right, and now some connection to the next piece, you can decide. Our second piece is by Ananda Benna Weber, and it's called Fancy Fool Folks. Based on real stories from real Americans, this piece dances, sings, and clowns the story of who we are as a nation today and reminds us that love is the key to making the whole experiment work. Please welcome Ananda Benna Weber.
How do you pronounce your name in your country? How is it spelled here? Oh, how strange. What does it mean? Oh, how beautiful. I never thought this could be a man's name. Can you write it down for me? In your language, oh beautiful. I love foreign letters. They are like drawings. They are like secret signs from magic places, from different worlds. I don't know what they mean. I hope they mean well. I hope they're not against me. I don't know what they mean. I hope they are friendly. I hope they don't plan to hurt me. How do you say laugh in your language? Can you write it down for me? Oh, how beautiful. Can you say it one more time? Can I try to? Oh, how do you say thank you?
It's always interesting to me the way that we as societies can sometimes be so easily convinced to hate our neighbors, to turn against them and call them the enemy. People will say something like, for example, oh, these people wear a religious headscarf, so they are your enemy, or it can be as simple as they eat strange food. They speak a strange language. And, I'm always very interested in the things that get people to kind of unite under one banner, to think of themselves as being one people. But I think my opinion, I hope you share my opinion. My opinion is that it's definitely always better to unite around a common good than to unite against a common enemy. I'm going, if you pardon me for one moment, I'm going to time the show so that I don't talk for too long. Okay, but this subject matter is very important to me because I came here from the Soviet Union when it was the Soviet Union, and I was so happy, to arrive here and to be able to live in a free democratic society, because well, it's interesting when people think about the Soviet Union, they say, oh, you had communism, but actually, what we had was not really communism, because communism is too idealistic, in communism, you say, oh, yes, we're going to have some sort of beautiful utopian community where we all take care of each other, but the thing is, we're not taking into account human foibles, right? It's not always, people are not always naturally gravitating towards taking care of each other, and so what you end up with is a few people at the top who are sort of telling everyone else to get together. And this is what we had. We had really authoritarian oligarchy. We did not have communism. We did not have really socialism per se either, except for a few things like, for example, everyone having their own apartment, or something that I see now in retrospect that we actually did very well in the Soviet Union, which was education. Wonderful, very rich, rigorous education, mathematics, art, music, science, even philosophy. It was very rich. But I was so absolutely happy to come here and to be a part of a democratic society where we come together as citizens to fairly agree, to shake hands, if you will, to fairly agree to participate in this government that seems to guard against human foibles with these checks and the balances, and it's been really very wonderful. I can't imagine being more deeply satisfied than I am. My family owns a little dress shop. We have a lovely little house with a beautiful garden, and it is like my own little heaven, really. But it's very interesting to me the way I see. I am a bit confused by the behavior sometimes of some of my friends and colleagues who came here at the same time that I did from the Soviet Union, and because I have some friends who are very, very, very smart, and they are very successful, and which is great. It's wonderful to be extremely successful, and they are making millions and billions of dollars sometimes, but it sometimes from their behavior, it seems almost to me that they are forgetting why we wanted to flee from the Soviet Union, the reasons that we wanted to come here from the Soviet Union. For example, occasionally I am seeing some former Soviet Russians participate in this practice of buying up all of the apartments and buildings in the city and then leaving them empty in order to drive up prices. And I can always see why people might want to participate in this. However, I don't understand why former Soviet Russians would want to, because again, you are creating an atmosphere in which only a few people on the top have the power and everyone else is struggling. And one thing that really shocks me is when some rich people are paying a politician for a vote, buying off a politician. Now, again, I can understand why some people might want to participate in this. But I don't understand why former Soviet Russia would want to participate in this, because why are you going to participate? Even if you can, don't, because it breaks the system. Why are you going to participate in the breaking of this system that you know works for you, that you know makes you have a better life? You know, I don't understand, because again, it creates an atmosphere in which only a few people on the top have power over everyone else. It creates an atmosphere of danger and corruption. And this is Soviet. This is not America. This is not American democracy, according to me. This is Soviet. And I'll tell you something right now. I said no to the Soviet Union over there, and I say no to it here also. No to the Soviet Union. I believe in democracy where we fairly agree. And you can feel that people participating in breaking the system is starting to create an atmosphere that feels very frighteningly familiar to someone like me. For example, they try a lot of things, and they tried a lot of things during the Soviet Union to keep Russians down. You know, it's not easy to keep Russians down. People who succeed at keeping Russians down are not lazy, right? They tried all sorts of things: weapons, intimidation, abduction. But one of the things that they tried also during the Soviet Union, which was everywhere, was propaganda. However, they made the mistake of giving us this excellent education. And so we were not necessarily, we were seeing this propaganda everywhere, but we were not necessarily believing the messages from this propaganda. Because, you know, when we were suspicious of this, but because when you educate people, they get suspicious. And this is what we are supposed to do. You know, when someone is telling you, this is your enemy because they wear the headscarf. This is your enemy. They're coming into your country and they're going to take everything that's yours. You know, when you have critical thinking, you know, you are suspicious of this. You are saying to yourself, why are you so interested in who I hate? Why are you so invested in who I think of as being my enemy? You know, how does it benefit for you if I agree to hate them, right? And yet it's interesting because, you know, we are having this same, very similar propaganda happening. I feel this, you know, sort of slogan style propaganda in the United States. And yet you can see they are doing the thing which authoritarians perhaps think is the right move in taking away American education. And so you can see we have this kind of propaganda going on, but not necessarily a healthy level of suspicion among people. And this makes me extremely concerned. And it makes me think perhaps now is a time when those of us who are from places like the Soviet Union, right, or other places, when people have been inside of a giant propaganda machine designed to try to keep people down, perhaps this is a moment when we who live here, who are American citizens, need to speak up, right? And this is very hard. I know this is very hard for many of my friends and colleagues, because the Soviet Union taught us to always keep our head down, move forward, don't make waves. And so we instinctively do this. And yet perhaps now we have to remember with ourselves together that the way American democracy thrives is when people raise their voices against injustice, raise their voices on the side of truth. And perhaps what could be very potent now is a voice for American democracy with a Russian accent.
Yeah, hello. So, good evening. It's very nice to see all of you. So you are looking at my face. If you have been watching or following any of the Fancy Fool with Ananda Beneweber shows, then you have seen my face because I'm sort of the trademark cover girl of Fancy Fool. But my name is Professor Franz Lederhosen. And I am a world-renowned clown psychoanalyst. For those of you who you might have heard of me, actually. I invented the technique, the very well-known technique known as the reverse Freud. Perhaps you have heard of this. You know that Freud, when he was very revolutionary, and he invented the idea that the therapist lies down, you know, in order to be very open to what the patients are saying, you know, in order to give them a very potent therapy. In the reverse Freud, the concept is very similar. The therapist actually lies down, legs in the air, in order to be extremely open to what the patient is giving, in order to be able to properly treat them. If you haven't already checked it out, please do buy my book, Professor Franz Lederhosen, Psychoanalysis, the Role of the Pelvic Floor. But yeah, you know, sort of, I'm also sort of interested in talking to you about the subject that my colleague here started, which is propaganda. As you can tell from my accent, this may be relevant to me because my country, which was Germany, has a kind of fraught history with propaganda. Hitler actually, some sinister and yet brilliant propagandists came up with the precursors for a lot of the slogan-based propaganda that is used today. And he actually, he wrote it out, so we can read about the very brilliant sort of propaganda that he engineered. I'm just going to check really fast to see how we're doing. I'm just okay. So, but yeah, so, and it's interesting as a psychoanalyst, you know, because these companies that are producing this kind of, you know, propaganda designs are also, they're really state of the art, you know, it's like Hitler 2.0, if you will, you know, because they are able to actually, they are discussing this with psychologists and everything to try to psychoanalyze us using our social media profile. And it's actually, it's frighteningly accurate, you know, and so, and to put in to when we use these devices, you know, to make them addictive in a way, to appeal to us below the level of conscious choice. And it's really quite brilliant. But yeah, so look, now this show is a work in progress, right? We're here, we're going to make a big show, a long show. We would like to thank the Marsh Theatre for having us here as this evening to work on the work in progress. And there's a, you know, there's a talk back at the end of the thing. And I'm very interested to hear what you think would be the most potent subjects to talk about in the areas of technology, you know, the ubiquitous technology and propaganda, because I have to say, you know, we're having some trouble because the subject matter is changing, technology is changing in the world so fast that we cannot keep up with this in the writing of the show. It's just like really taking off. And it's kind of blowing everybody's mind, you know, because for example, just a couple of weeks ago, we are having still more, you know, whistleblowers, people who are creating this artificial intelligence, you know, who are coming out and they're saying, no, you know, beware of the technologies that we've created because artificial intelligence is going to be more intelligent than human beings before you know it. And the potential to topple democracies is right. We are right on the edge of this precipice, you know, but I think everyone in this room, I have a feeling we are all kind of on a page with each other here, because I'm thinking at least, you know, how come they are so surprised that this is happening when all of the movies and films are telling us very, you know, very specifically that the machines are going to become intelligent and they are going to kill us. Right? They are looking at the numbers, they are not paying attention to the films, you know. And but it's interesting because I think about what it might mean to be extremely good at mathematics. I myself am not very good at mathematics. I'm exactly as good at mathematics as one might expect a solo theater performer to be. I am exactly that good at mathematics. But as I see these people, who have been really all in creating this technology, and all of a sudden, they're running around blowing the whistle. It seems to me, perhaps, if you are fixated on these numbers, there are some things that might be kind of obvious to the rest of us that these people who are very gifted in one area might miss, And so it seems for me that right, it is time now for us to bring all of the rest of our capacities to bear on looking at these things, because it's going to take some intervention, for example, if we think about, if we have a computer program, that is run by an AI algorithm, for example, that is designed to analyze human suffering, this computer program running on mathematics is going to cycle through all of the different scenarios, right? It has to learn by trial and error, for example, why the color red is associated with human agony and terror, right? It's going to learn to cycling through all of these different scenarios, whereas a real person does not need to cycle through these scenarios. A real person knows instantly why those two things are related. And as it looks at its infinite cycles, there are certain things that a real person is never going to try because they're too horrible to think about, unless, of course, they are psychopaths. But we are hoping that this is not the way most people are, right? But, so it's very interesting because I think that reasonable, regular people, we need to start to step up and see how we can intervene, because they're right. Some of these prospects are absolutely, well, they're pretty scary, right? But I think good news. There's good news. This is supposed to be a funny show, by the way. As I asked in the last week, and also I did another month. I asked them then too. It's a very tricky subject. You can tell by the nose. Right? This show is supposed to be comedy, but then you start to do a show about these days, at least about democracy and multiculturalism, and it's like, gosh, it's a lot of depressing things going on, And yet it's wonderful because when we think of ourselves as we are sitting here, for example, we are whole. We are not our sort of social media profile, right? We are whole beings with other capacities. We have energies, we have spirituality, right? We have our whole organism. We have this experience of being. And when we are here, we have this marvelous experience of each other, and we can start to realize that this cosmos of a human being, this cosmos of a citizen, is so much more than this. And to combat this, one of the very simple things and very powerful things, I think we underestimate how powerful it is to just, except for timing the show, we're getting very close, is to just put this down, right? And go here. And in this moment, right, when we are together, remember this infinite cosmos that is one person, when two people link with each other, this is not just double, we are exponentially more, right? And this is to another person and another person. We have this power when we are together that, like, for example, the magic of live theater that science says is our hearts actually synchronized. There is a power when we come together, and we can use this to make it better.
Yes, I'll just say we're sort of running out of time, so I'll just say a couple more things. And hello, it's very nice to see you. My name is Delia, and I'm another person. If you're interested and you've seen some of the work, Fancy Fool with London Better, you've seen me, because I'm sort of in and around the canon of shows, if you will. But and I, Delia, am an expert in the subject of Shakespeare, I talk about the theatre and Shakespeare, and I also usually, I go into schools and things and talk to kids about poetry, philosophy, and the way these beautiful things. A lot of the sensibility to each other and to the natural world. Oh, Lord, they are so beautiful, and it makes us feel inspired and expansive with this idea that our human birthright is such a wondrous miracle of consciousness. Yeah, and I think, it's so relevant, like just, going from what my colleague just said, to come back live and remember this. And especially taking into consideration our young people, right? People who come into contact with this, which, although it's very good for timing the show, a little over, it's not necessarily the best. Those people who don't necessarily remember the way many of us do, a world before there were things like social media, right? And it's a beautiful tool, we've been sort of slagging off this phone, right? But it's not necessarily bad. There are beautiful things. Wikipedia, right? Google Scholar. I watched Noam Chomsky, the great Michel Foucault. So was everyone right? Looking for, right? If you're already prepared, people will go in here, right, and they're not necessarily prepared. It can be really fraught. It can take us out of ourselves and into a world of online bullying and pressures on social media that lead to some very terrible things. For example, especially one of very little. I was on public transportation and I saw a baby that couldn't have been more than 1 year old. Scrolling on a phone like this. Yes, right, it's funny, but it's also not. Because if we think about the implications for what this tiny person's attention is going to be like, it gives us pause. And I do teach young people, and I have to say, 20 years ago, I didn't have to wave in a 7-year-old's face in order to get them to pay attention to me. I feel quite rude waving right there, but their eyes dart around, and you can tell the ones who've been subjected to this. And the other thing is, the numbers and related to that scrolling, there are now percentages due to this of kindergartners who are entering kindergarten without the manual dexterity to pick up a pencil. That's actually a huge problem in our country right now, not to mention the stats on depression, anxiety among young people, and most soberingly, instances of desiring to take one's own life when one is so young that they haven't even passed to double digits in age. These things, online bullying and the like, can cause these things. And yet, again, show is supposed to be funny, see the glasses, yes, we've got to remember that we are connected. And Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. If we come together live and we feel the potent energy, also the last performer talked about that, and we put our intentions together and use our imaginations, we can imagine together, energetically, a world in which we take all the money used for weapons and we put it towards environmental technology and education for young people. So we've got a world full of flowers and trees where no one hates us because we're not attacking them. And we've all got the critical thinking skills to use this as a tool instead of being used by it. And lo and behold, we're happy again.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much to the March Theater. Fantastic. So many venues devoted to solo theater. The March is my favorite place in the world. Come and see everything at the March. Thank you so much.
History of a time. New history of there's more than in building discotheques.
Are you having a situation?
Trans-Siberian sex toys.
Lots of dance, but probably can dance. I can't dance, but I will. I'm not.
Но кое-что похоже. Соврать не даст ни Юра, ни Сережа. Simply because I'm not a total gajo. Да я шут, я циркач, ну так что же?
I love Monday Night March. Ananda Benna Weber, please. All right, and to round out the evening, we have the Jen Bosworth Ramirez Comedy Special. After years of being told she was funny and should have her own comedy special, Jen finally has one. This is a story about the brutal beauty and weirdness of life. And now Jen Bosworth Ramirez.
Hello, no one is available to take your call. Please leave a message after the tone.
Okay, so like, you know how Chris Rock has that like subtle hip hop going at the beginning and they like house in the house? Like that's, I mean, something like that, but like maybe a little like, oh, please welcome to the stage, Jen Bosworth Ramirez in the Jen Bosworth Ramirez comedy special, a solo show. Okay, that's one. Please welcome to the stage Jen Bosworth Ramirez in the Netflix Comedy Hour, a 20-minute version. I like that one too. Or like something like that, like San Francisco. Please welcome to the stage the please, oh my God, I'm high on Theraflu. San Francisco, and now San Francisco, please welcome to the stage Jen Bosworth Ramirez in the Jen Bosworth Ramirez comedy special, a solo show, 20 minutes, a workshop production, that sort of thing. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God, I have to lay down.
Weeks ago, and you were lovely and you look lovely now. I'm lying, I can't see a fucking thing. I'm sure you're beautiful, except for you. I worry about you. No, you're gorgeous. Okay, so here we are. Okay, time out. So I'm taping this. So this is how this is gonna go. You'll see that I'm playing to the house because we're pretending that I'm in a real big fucking theater, and you all came, and so did thousands of other people. And I will tell you why we are doing this. Okay. People always said to me, it's true what Army said, he did not lie to you, that people always say, oh, you're so funny. You're so funny, you need your own comedy special. And I was like, you know what? I am funny, but you can't just like have a comedy special. You can't just like do a comedy special in your car. Unless you are Jerry Seinfeld, because he literally has a fucking show called like doing comedy in a car or something. So, but I'm not that. Right? So I was like, oh, and then I have a friend, her name is Kiki. It's a weird name, but that is her name. She's like, listen. I work in HR. And I'm like, I know. And she's like, I work in HR and Netflix. And I'm like, oh, I see where you're going here, Kiki. And she's like, listen, I see Brett at Netflix. Brett at Netflix is the guy who gives out all the comedy specials. That's like his thing. He's the comedy special guy. And right now we hate Netflix because we're on strike, but that's okay. But he's the guy. So Brett at Netflix holds all the power to all the comedy specials. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna get me one of these, Kiki. And Kiki's like, here's our plan. We're gonna go and we're gonna like talk you up. I'm gonna talk you up in the break room of Netflix. I'm gonna be like, hey, Brett at Netflix. I can't Kiki in HR. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Okay. So I have this friend, Jen Bosworth Ramirez, and she has this really funny show. And you should really, she's like a great aspiring comedian, but she's like the next big thing. And you should totally give her a special and see where it goes. Right. Well, it didn't quite go like that. So apparently what happened was Kiki was like, yeah, it didn't really go that way. And I said, okay, Kiki, tell me what happened. Tell me. She's like, well, I somehow I got nervous and I was in the break room and Brett is like really scary. And so what came out was, I have this friend, her name is Jen, she's a famous comedian. It's not true. She's a famous comedian and she's like performing all around the country and I think you should really give her a comedy show. And Brett was like, yeah, great, give me your tape. I don't have a fucking tape. I don't have a tape. I don't have a comedy show. So what I'm doing here around the country, meaning just San Francisco, is bits. And then in post, we're gonna edit it to make it look, because the magic of technology is I can make it look to Brett that I came out at the, what is it, the Orpheum or the Fillmore, whatever the fuck is famous here. And I will say that all those things and I will pretend. And then we will give a spliced together show to Brett and he will say, she is brilliant. And then I will have a comedy show and then I will be able to pay my mortgage. That is what so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna come out again, and I'm not joking, we're gonna do this again. So you don't have to do the sound cue because that's done. That thing is like 4 hours long, but I'm gonna come out, you're gonna clap, and then we're gonna just go into my comedy special, okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Oh, I like this. San Francisco, good audience, not like the Midwest, not like the Midwest. Okay, here we go. Okay, let's do great. I'm like so starved for attention, I'm like almost gonna cry. Okay, so dads, am I right? Dads, so that's our comedy show, we're gonna put that up here. Dad, okay, last week I did moms, I'm doing dads, am I right? Dads, like here's something about dads, they're amazing. And also they pretend to know so much shit they do not have any idea about, like carburetors or fixing juicers or I don't know how to pay taxes or like do like pick children up on time, like that's the thing. But they pretend. And this is what I like about dads is that they really believe that if they just manifest enough duct tape and enough snippets of knowledge from God knows where, like my dad was not Jewish and yet had a Yiddish dictionary he carried around. What for? Nobody knows, but that's the shit he would do, right? And so this is an ode to dads. And Arnie, when I'm literally at 20, you have to say, stop talking. Arnie. Okay, Arnie quit. Well, fuck it. Oh, great. Oh, like you're not coming on tour. Okay, so dads, right? Like I love my dad, and yet he knows nothing. The guy really he's 6'8.5", so he's a very, very large human, and a nice person, but literally will pretend to know things. He'll be like, yeah, there's I knew that. There's like 323 calories in that. Yeah, I look, it's like, there's like, 9,000. He's like, that's close, it's just stuff like that. So case in point, I was thinking about my dad and I was like, what would be a story that would really sort of unite us about dads? And I will tell you my story. And my story is this. When I don't know how old would be. I have a friend in the audience. Don't say it because if you say it, it's going to sound like you're really close to me and we can't do that because you have to be like in the balcony. So there's all the important people in the front. So okay. So when I was like, 19, 20, I got an apartment and it was my first apartment. And I was so proud. And now in retrospect, it was such a shithole. But I was so proud. And then my dad was like, I want to come see your apartment. And I was like, oh no. And it wasn't because I was scared that he wouldn't like it. It's that he would fucking come and try to fix every goddamn thing that was there. And he would break it and make it worse. And then it would burn down and we'd have to move. So I was like, oh no, don't worry about it. Apartment. It's like a long apartment. I'm not doing anything. So he was right. He wasn't doing anything. My dad was a car thief, turned used car salesman, turned child psychologist. And I am not fucking joking. Worst, the absolute worst, but the best, So my 6'9" giant dad comes over to my first apartment and he's like walking around. And I'm like, oh, please just go home, And he's like walking around. And I'm like, and this is my bedroom, futon on the floor, per usual. Yeah, and he's like, do you have a phone jack in here? You don't have a phone? I was like, we have like a phone right here in the, pre-cell phone days, so I was born in 1892. So pre-cell phones, and so I'm like, no, we have we don't, I don't need a phone. And I know in my head, I'm like, oh, I know where this is fucking going. I don't have in my bedroom. He's like, in the chuck wagon, that's what he calls his Astro van. The chuck wagon, I have supplies I can put in a jack for you. And I was like, no, he's gonna put a jack in tomorrow. It'll be back. And he was like, I got this. And I was like, oh no. But he leaves and comes back, I shit you not, in full overalls. Big and tall overalls. And like a fucking bag, which is not a tool bag, but I'm not kidding you, a fucking fishing kit. Like I don't know. Box. Thank you. I don't know shit. So he comes back a box full of random shit. And he's like, no. And I always, okay, this is dad. You ask them, how long will this take? Same answer. Hour, 2 tops. Hour, 2 tops. Now listen, I worked as a therapist for federal prisoners when they got out of prison who were substance abusers. When they say they had 3 hits of cocaine or 3 drinks, you multiply that by 9. Basically. So same thing with dads. Hour, 2 tops. I'm like doing the math. I'm like, oh my fucking God. And I was like, okay. And so my dad is very large and my room was very small. So the dude had to sit, he had to get horizontal on my futon and begin to install a phone jack, which meant opening the wall and finding other wires to connect to these wires. And I was like, this is awful, but you're trapped. And I'll tell you why. You're thinking, why? Get the fuck out. No. Okay, I come from a family. My mom is a very small, beautiful, thin Latina, and so is my sister, the skinny bitches, we called them. My dad and I were more similar in stature. You have to stick together with our body type in a family. There's the skinny bitches, and then there was so he was my team. I couldn't say get the fuck out, because he'd be like, we're supposed to be on a scene. I couldn't deal. I was 19, right? So I was like, okay, just do it. And I just knew it was going to be bad. And it was really bad. It started off okay, but immediately they're swearing and sweating. He had a bandana, but still sweat through. He was a very large, 6'9", big guy, and like in overalls and a white t-shirt under, and like on his side, so I couldn't see what he was doing, but what I imagined was like a mixture of that game Operation and like pickup sticks, and his hands were huge. And the fingers are small. So I would occasionally, I'm not kidding you, he'd be like, hear this. This is fucking shit. This is motherfucking. And I would be like, I wish I was dead, but here I am on Campbell in Chicago in my first apartment. I don't care that it has cockroaches and that our landlord is a bizarre Welshman. I do care, and now it's gonna all be, but I just sat there and I waited. And he's like, no, not gonna be much longer. Can you bring me like a soda? Sure. Now, and then he's like halfway and he's like, can you, I'm starving. Of course you are. You're like a giant and you're working very hard. And he's like, can you go get me some tacos? So I go get tacos. I'm at the taco shop and I'm like, listen, Pedro, like I need a lot of tacos. And he's like, what? And I'm like, my dad, in my broken Spanish, I'm half Colombian. In my broken Spanish, I like try to explain that my giant father is trying to put a phone jack in. And Pedro's just like, oh. The only thing he says is, oh yeah. Que lástima. I'm like, it is que lástima. And then I just would walk out. So I finally, after I swear it was like 10 hours. It was like involved me going to the payphone because guess what? When you're putting in another fucking phone jack, the other fucking phone jack, no phone, right? And he's like, if you're murdered or raped, you need a phone in your bedroom. Sure, it makes sense. fact that now the shit was gonna be messed up. But whatever, I was like, maybe it's gonna work. Maybe this is the one time in my life that the shit is gonna go right with this man. Maybe it's now, this phone jack. He's sweaty, he's angry, he's cursing, he's blaming me, like. But he's blaming me and finally he's like, I should do it. I know the shit's not gonna work, but okay, I know anything. But he gets up and it's like a process to get up when you're that big and tall, like 6'9". He's like, you have to like do it in stages, right? It's a futon, so there's a more grunting and talking about knee surgery and all the things. He's like, I should do it. And I'm like, great, I'll see you on Sunday at dinner. I'll see you later. I'll just take the train. I was like, no, go get the phone and see if it works. Oh no. I'm like, okay. You fucking, I was like, I went to acting fucking school. I went to conservatory training to University Theater School. Bitch, it's now or never. Bitch, get it together. So I'm like, okay. So I get the cordless little station thing and I'm like, it's all frayed, there's wires and shit. It's not up to code, you know. So, and I go over and I plug this shit in and get a little, and I'm like, okay, that's good. It fits in the, okay. And then I'm like, and he's watching me, sweating, angry, sad, giant man watching me. And I'm like, and I have to press that button, you know? I'm like, and I'm like, and what I hear is, like, yeah, perfect. Yeah, perfect. So I'm thinking that for the dad bit. That's pretty funny, right? It's pretty funny, dad. Yeah, I think that's really gonna work. Here's the thing. People always want to end comedy shows on a high note, right? You don't see Chris Rock being like, and that's why I'm a canceled womanizing asshole. And I got punched in the face. And it's all. Need a little water for this part. The thing is, his life, my dad's life ended really, really badly. And we'll cut all this out. But it ended really bad. He got addicted to painkillers. And the Fleetwood Mac before in the pre-show, I wouldn't have picked it, my friend, and I'll tell you why. It's beautiful music, but it reminds me of my childhood. Mixed bag, right? Robert, mixed bag. So he got addicted to pain pills. He had knee surgery and he was depressed. It was 2006 when that fucking family was giving everybody fucking opioids. And he took them and he took them. And I was in LA working for a movie star thinking I was very fancy. And they got a call and my dad overdosed and then he died. So there's a real conundrum. I was with him in the hospital. He went to ICU and then he died 24 days later. He was a good person, but he died. And so comedy specials, this would make the worst because people really want to be happy and I get it. But then people also, I think, and we can talk about it later, I think also want the truth. So it's like, you want to give the people, bless you, you want to give the people truth, but you also don't want to think that all is lost. And I don't have the answer to that question. So as I stand here tonight on this Monday, I just want to tell you that I don't have the answers. This is gonna be the worst comedy special ever, but I will get it together. And it's like, if all else fails, what I tell myself is like, Robert, honey, sometimes you just have to say, fuck it. We'll fix it in post. I know. Right, your Uber is here. Who? Your Uber. Me?
You told me to go. Well, you didn't even make fun of them.
Oh, well, fuck it, let's start over already. What is he at? Great, okay, so I will totally use the 3 minutes and I'll tell you why. So we're on to, well, it's just gonna be
Vlog back.
Anyway, okay, so the thing is about comedy is this is a real question, a la Hannah Gatsby, a la. So I think comedy specials, like I saw the recent Chris Rock comedy special, very cringeworthy, but I'll tell you why. He was very petrified. I would be petrified too. I mean, he's got this huge fame, he's got all this fortune, he was attacked on live TV and, you know, left his wife and famously, also, yeah, I think he got new teeth, which look really weird. That could be part of his problem, but I think that comedy specials, for me, comedy is about telling the truth, but it's also, yeah, I don't want people to leave and want to harm themselves. That's not my, or like harm others. That's not what I'm saying, but I also don't want to pretend that like really funny stuff sometimes leads to people to really sad stories. So my idea for this show, and it's great that, you know, we're talking about this, even though it's a one-sided conversation. My idea for the show is that I love the device of a comedian or someone who wants to be a comedian is really trying to be funny and being funny. But then there's like this little niggling, like little thing of like, that's not really what happened. Like, that's not really the truth. And I think we're ready for the truth. And I think somehow we have to, for me anyway, as an artist, there has to be both. And so I'm trying to incorporate that. And also the idea of fixing things in post, meaning we can say, actually, let's cut that part out. And then wondering if the parts that we cut out in our life and our stories and are really the parts that people want to know about. So that's where I'm at with this comedy special. And Kiki, we'll have to discuss it with Kiki. Kiki, yeah. So anyway, Brett is expecting a tape. In 100 days when the strike's over, and if he has a job, he'll probably be fired. But if not, there'll be another Brett. It's not really his name either. There'll be another Brett, and they'll be expecting a tape if they, you know, if we follow up with that. But I'm just not sure what to send them. That's it. All right, Robert. That's really it.
Can we have one more round?
Oh,
Yeah.
You get money for this, is what I'm saying. It's okay if you do or don't. I'm just.
I don't have a video, I see that, I don't know what.
I'm gonna give you something. It's very personal, but all I'm saying is thank you for your.
This is a paying job. So you don't have to think.
Are you hired? Going to, anyway, thank you. Everybody else come out. Robert, thank you. Arnie, thank you. Everyone, thank you. Thanks. Sir, do you know how to work a phone? Can you turn off my phone? Can someone turn my phone off? Or stop recording it? Anyone, just press stop. I'm sure you know how to work a phone. It's a rude question, but you never know. Are you a dad? Because then you might. He's like, I don't know. Robert.
Yeah, that's for myself.
Yeah.
So we just had 3 terrific performances tonight. And this was Nick, our volunteer. Thank you, Megan. So I'm sure some of you have some questions. It takes a while to get the first person to ask one, but let's shoot. Who has a question to get things started?
Jen, is your microphone a lip roller?
No, but I got this. No, that's great. It is. And you know what? I was practicing and I practiced. And
That goes, right?
The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
it says the Bluetooth something is ready to pair. Device is ready to pair. And I'm sort of playing with it going off during the thing, but the sound is wonky. So no, but wouldn't it be great? It was like $11. Oh, anyway, but no, God, she's gonna talk again. I'm so sorry.
All right, that question broke the ice.
Question for Ananda. How do you, clearly you're a dancer, how do you bring your dance more into your performances and how does that inform your physicality?
Yeah, well, obviously, my physical training started with ballet. Ballet has a whole mind pedagogy in it. So I studied that in conservatory, and then later on, I connected that with a lot of contemporary clown techniques, which a lot of those are based on the same things. During the Art de Silence era in Paris, the ballet, mime was at the center of acting, and ballet dancers were thought of as being the purest mimes. So actually, if you go back like 100 years, they're really, the whole foundation of it was the same. So that was really cool. And in my shows are all multidisciplinary. So it has a little something for everyone, you know, because people respond to different kinds of things. So there'll be several dances and several songs and then several monologues, and some mimed silent clown sequences also in the whole thing. So it's kind of I don't know what to call it. It's I used to call it a found poem of vignettes, but then I was selling it and people were like, they don't understand what that is. Just call it new vodka.
Other questions? Yeah, your dad really was 6'9".
Yeah.
That was my roommate in that apartment.
Yeah, 6'9", 6'8.5", 6'9", and then he shrank and he got. He was, and my mom was 5'4". Your last. Correct, that explains why shit went real south.
Sorry, I'll just add.
That you.
So Jen, so with the writer's strike on, I would expect a lot of talented professionals such as yourself are working on some more passion projects like this. So I'm excited to see kind of a lot of wonderful material come out like this. And is this kind of a difficult time, or is it sort of an opportunity, or is it a little bit both?
Hollywood's always garbage. So like I love being in the entertainment industry, and I'm very aware that it is very garbagey. So I don't have illusions about that. So it's a bad time, but it's also the only time we're gonna have to change anything. So these we're about to go, I'm SAG and we're about to go on strike, and the writers are on strike. I'm not WGA, but I do write, and so everyone's about to strike. It's the only chance we have to make things right for the next 15 years. So while it is hard, there's so much hope involved. It's really bad if you're making a lot of money, which is 1% of the people. So I'm writing my butt off. I'm writing a YA novel about a coven of vampires in Ventura, where I live. And I'm doing a lot of writing right now, and it's amazing. So yeah. And I have to just self-tape tonight. Don't let me forget. Sorry. I will forget.
What else?
Okay, I have one for you too.
I love it.
You had such wonderful physicality. Have you also done mime or dance? Also, there was so much energy and physical manifestation of your words in your performance.
So I started as a dancer since I'm a kid. I started at 3 years old.
Wow.
So, yeah, I was a hyper, so at least they could park me there. But then when I arrived here in '83, there was a lot of mix of dance and performing art, and I started to train in action theater, which is improvisation that's based on the body. So really it's not based on content, even though this has a lot of more content that I usually do, I would say. But so in general, you're writing musically, or you're writing the energy of the moment, but not the content. Things emerge from your body. So anyway, so that's my training, and I love it, especially that English is not my first language, and that I'm not a writer. So if I was not moving, I would not have access to that imagery, let's say, or that content. Yeah.
Where are you in the process of this?
Of this, well, this one actually, I'm glad you're saying this because as I'm telling in this vignette, I have been very sick. And so, and I'm not anymore, which I feel very, very grateful, because you never know. So I feel very grateful. And so this is my way to get back on this, on practicing. So I feel like I need to practice more performance. So I'm not sure if I will expand it, but I'd like to just, just get back on stage and just continue to practice before I tackle something bigger. Yeah.
Welcome back.
I just want to say the proud parents of the cat are in there. My friends.
I have a question. This just came out of blue. I hope it's okay to, I'm not divulging any complete secret. Ananda, I know you have a very young child.
Yeah.
How has having a young child affected? I mean, obviously it changes your life, but in terms of your, like, as a performer, or maybe even more as a writer, your view, how does that connect to the show you're working on now? I mean, has it changed? Has having a child sort of changed the way you look at the world or altered it or somehow?
Was definitely changed the amount of time I have to work on still. And when I can work on it, I end up working in the middle of the night. And I'm just like delirious, but it's the only time, when he's asleep. But it's really just made me double down on the original impulses to do the show because, I feel like we're all vulnerable to the loss of everything green and good, at this moment. And having a little baby just makes me think about how much more serious that is and how much I want a good world for him.
Thank you. Anybody feeling a little shy? They're kind of, sort of. Like,
Maybe they just want to go home.
Sunday.
No, it's good. It's good. You give them like a little nudge.
I have a question. I
Yay.
just want to say everybody's amazing in all different ways. I like relate to all of you artistically and my own way as well. And it was really lovely and a great lineup. So whoever did that.
That's our program director, Alexa, who's not here. Alexa, if you're watching this line, thank you. Well, if you don't have more questions, then I'll start with Jen and going down the road, ask you how can we learn more about where you're gonna perform, what creative stuff you're up to?
Sure. It's just my website, JenBosworthRamirez.com. I would say the www. My niece was like, Tia, you didn't stop. So my name is my website.
What about the HTTP?
She would hate you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's my name, Catherine Devon. .com. I was about to say it in French. Next, I'm performing in Arcata.
How do you say .com in French?
.com.
So beautiful.
Oh yeah, I should sell it. Yeah. .com. There is going on.
So I'm a fancy fool.
Oh.
Did I do it again?
Yes.
Yeah, fancyfool.com. It's like fanciful but cool. And then anandabenaweber.com also, but I don't really update that one. But also, please do keep in touch with the, I'm sure you guys are all coming to the Marsh. I'm gonna do more of these at the Marsh and then eventually put the whole show together here. This is part of a residency. It'll be probably in the fall because I have to go away for gigs during the summer. But at a certain point, there'll hopefully be, if all goes well, a small run of this show and some folks here at Marsh next year.
Be there.
Thank you, Arnie. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Performers. Yes.
Hi, Peaches.
Again,
Hi.
all of you three are in the function.
Yeah.
Please come back again.
Go to bed.